Welcome everyone. Adam the Woo here as the recording of this Tuesday, September 20th, 2022. I am in downtown Salt Lake City, Utah. Behind me is this very impressive structure called the Rio Grande Depot. 1998, a film by the name of SLC Punk came out, starring Matthew Lillard, playing Steve-O. There was also Bob and a cast of other characters. And I've seen it many, many times. It is hard to believe that next year will be the 25th anniversary of said film, and I have never documented for posterity, SLC officers going by, the filming locations. So I'm going to do an impromptu, kind of impromptu, location tour around Salt Lake City, SLC. Punk, I'm inviting you to join me. Shall you? Where Steve-O and Bob lived in a very run-down loft apartment is much nicer now than it was then. It's now a construction office building. You see the tower there on the far right. They were in that tower. And then off in the distance, kind of on the overlook where I started looking at downtown with some train tracks, you can faintly see those off in the distance when Steve-O is standing there at the window for a couple scenes. You'll see the road, how there's a ramp that goes over the tracks down there. That used to extend all the way through here. In fact, the building was slightly obscured by that ramp. There was a two-story road, and the lower portion of the road through here wasn't really utilized too much for traffic. In fact, there was a scene or two that took place right in here as well. So imagine, if you will, there was a second level road that for one reason or another has been torn out. Shown here is that road, the elevated road. Now pay attention to this building over here with the windows and everything. I'll show that in a moment. That is directly across from where I'm standing now. So this was just right up against their loft apartment building right across the way. But definitely notice that building there, how it looks with the little loft on that too, because that is directly right behind me. So the road elevated was right here. There was also a scene that took place right over here when they parked the car and they take Bob inside for the last time. 404 West is the address. You can see it right on the side of that door. Now it's kind of tough to tell because it's silhouetted out by the sun, but you can get the building structure itself and see that that is the precise one looking underneath where the on-ramp used to be. Same building and everything right over there across the street. Very interesting they tore the road out. Also the power pole there and the side of the building, which is now the construction building. I believe the street lamp has been changed, but it's the same power pole and the same building over here to the left. And that was just before the camera in the movie pans down from this angle, shows the upper road, and then reveals both Steve-O and Bob sitting in the street right here. Same building behind them as well, right over there. Same building. Even with the chimney there next to his head, his mohawk, and then over behind Steve-O, the same little building there with the addition kind of protruding out next to the left side of his face, which both can be seen right there. Yeah, they were just sitting right out here where the road is now. With traffic now, it wouldn't even be possible. Okay, this is kind of interesting. The address is right on the side of the building. Now it's on the door, but you see the 404 on the side, and there's an electrical box on the corner where Steve-O pulls up his van and takes Bob inside. But take a look at this light pole. There are some kind of golden letters. Those are still here on this very corner. The door they went in was right here. Now an employee entrance. And there's the electrical box over there in the corner. The van was right here in this very spot. This pole here is brand new. That pole was not there in the movie itself. But take a look at this. This V right here. This rusted out, used to be a gold colored V, well, orange, can be seen in the film. Screen used, right there. And then they walk right in that door, go up the stairs to the loft, which was way up top there. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get in here, but I'm gonna go in the office and just ask. Worst they could say is no. Looks as if they might have replaced the windows, but they are the same style of windows that they were in the movie. The building pretty much looks the same. Windows probably replaced, but they just kept the same architecture of the windows. All right, that was a hard no. It never hurts to ask. I'm just going to just show it from the road. Evidently, it is the person who owns this company's office, and obviously they don't want someone in there filming personal stuff, which I get. Would have been cool to get up there though. Now without getting up there, I'm just kind of guesstimating on where it was. There's also the very dramatic, spoiler alert, the very dramatic ending. I don't want to give too much away if you haven't seen it, but yeah, this very dramatic scene. The only posers die, crying, all that. Now watching it back, there is a staircase that goes from their level up a level. So I am just assuming, I don't know for fact, that theirs was on the second one down, not the top windows, but the second windows down. That's also where they had the party scene. A lot of stuff happened in there. They had all the spray paint on the walls. And then most likely when Matthew Lillard is looking out, he's looking out of that window right there because you can see the roof, which is right here. It's just a guess. I made the 5 or 6 mile commute, give or take, over to Presidential Circle, or President's Circle, here on the university, where Bob's talking about Napoleon. Let me tell you something about the nature of chemicals, man. And I think they did it right over here in this area. Yeah, it was kind of laying on the side of that little concrete pylon there, like a little information placard with the bench there, the trash can, and that very unique, distinct building behind him, which would have been right here. Oh, you know what? It's not like, I thought it actually said something. It's just a little grate. Okay, it's like a sewage grate of some sort. Actually, no, there's a light in there. For some reason, when I watched it, I always thought that they would have like, there was like some info written on it. But even the one over here, it's just a grate too. Just for the lights to point up at the flag. That's very interesting. So Matthew was right here. Bob was right there. Well, the actor that played Bob. So Steve-O was down here. Trash can's gone. That's so funny. I always remember this scene. I feel like I need to lay down right here. And there's even a pretty cool little aerial crane view looking down. So his foot's on that line on the concrete there. There's the close-up. Yeah, you can tell it's a grate even in this photo. I guess it is a grate, not a placard. This is not the most comfortable headrest. Definitely not as comfortable as a pillow, and I'm looking right into the sun. And there's a dog barking. But this is kind of the angle. He's just listening to what his friend has to say in great detail. To be honest, laid back down there, grass is pretty cozy, but this right here, yeah, not comfortable. I always wanted to go to where this scene took place. And now I did, pretty cool. And just a couple miles away is where Sean was selling all the stuff to the mods. All their bikes were parked right over in here. And the security comes out of the door over there and kind of chases them off and runs over. But a pretty good view of the Capitol building over off in the distance. And downtown Salt Lake can be seen in the film on the horizon as well. In this general area, they had their bikes right out front here. It was funny how the character of Sean was wearing the oven mitts on both hands. There's the oven mitts, there's their bikes. I guess probably Vespas or similar to Vespas. Check out over here though. That fire hydrant's still here. Of course the angle would have been kind of from up there on the stairwell, more or less, with the windows in the background. With the example of the windows there and this little concrete embankment on the staircase leading in, still there, still looks the same. Which means I guess he's probably more in this general area. And there's a little staircase embankment the guy runs out. Now that's it. On to the next spot. Now about a mile or so away from where I just was, over in this little shopping development, where next to this dry cleaners, is where Trish's shop was, where they're building this new, I guess, apartment complex of some sort. There's not really a lot of clues left that it was over there, except for the fact that Trish, Steve-O, and Bob walked along this sidewalk and they passed by this dry cleaner sculpture looking, well, not sculpture, but structure, I should say. There's a couple angles where they're walking that way. There's a nail salon over there. You see the side of this wall. But you see this Henry's Dry Cleaner sign faintly. So where the three of them are walking, you see the side of this building for a moment. Then you also see this angle here. And the old kind of fancy neon that's up top here used to be right here. Because you could see this little indentation, this alcove overhang here, which is here. This was there for just a brief moment, and there was something else on that. So Trish's shop would have been right where that construction guy's going in. But if you take a look here, you can see just the side of that neon sign right there above Bob's head. Very interesting. Just a little section of it. And just a frame or two before that, so the neon's over here to the far right, there is that little kind of overhang awning there with the blocks. They used to have a different cleaner sign right up top there. So what I'm referring to is right here. So neon was there, and then the bluish cleaner sign was right up there. And what I just showed in that screen grab was that section right there with the three of them standing here with a very vintage Firestone tires spot over there as well. And then they continued walking that way. Her shop's gone though, it's been bulldozed a long time ago. Okay, here's another example. So that's a very good photo there. Looking back at what I'm describing now. Not much to go off of, except just, you know, if this dry cleaner's building was torn down, nothing would match up. And it is still an active dry cleaners to this day. If Steve-O ever had his clothes dry cleaned. I'm gonna guess no. Just a few blocks away is the scene where Steve-O and Sandy are walking and they bump into Sean a little bit later after the moments with the mods. And Sean does not recognize Steve-O, he thinks he's Bob. And that conversation took place right up, not on this corner, but the very next corner. But these archways look very distinct, as well as this building that's over here, over the top of their heads during the scene is taking place. But it happened right here on this very corner. The panhandling scene. Basically they were all standing right about here. Thought that car was gonna pull on this beside me. So yeah, the dialogue all took place right here. And this is what it looks like from the other direction as they're walking up to that corner. And they just continue to walk on after they saw him and all that. Now the building directly behind his head looks to be like it's under construction at this point, though it's all tarped over. Which would be the one there off in the distance. Other than that, pretty much looks the same right here. This other building does. And then as they walk off, he's still left back there. I'll catch you guys in the rebound. On the rebound. On the rebound. I have now driven up to the top of this overlook. This is about where I think the opening scene took place. See the Capitol building off in the distance. Kind of about this angle where referred to as the rednecks pull up in their truck and then they jump them. All that took place right about here. Of course, it was filmed at night, or the shroud of nightfall. This is about the angle. Of course, it's been, 2.5 decades, so it looks a little bit different as far as where the truck pulled up. The truck would have pulled up kind of right here and parked. But it's interesting, the little plants here, the like barren landscape, the foliage still looks the same, the growth up of those weeds. Drove over and parked my rental car down at the entryway to Memory Grove. And this pretty much looks exactly the same. That little gazebo can be seen where Steve-O and Sandy are laying here in the grass. I think there were some other moments from that portion of the film as well. See if I can kind of match it up where they were laying here on the ground. It's kind of interesting. You really only see the gazebo for a brief moment as they're over there on the lawn, but you see the gazebo over to the far left of the screen as well. So it still looks the same, but yeah, you really hardly see the gazebo much in the film. Which would have been this angle here. I'm gonna walk over there and see what that little placard says. Also, top of the hill, you can faintly see the top of the Capitol building up the stairs there. And they kind of intercut a couple scenes in while they're narrating it and talking here on the lawn. There's kind of even like a crane angle looking down like that, like a bird's eye on both of them. So this is what's off in the distance. This is what is far back behind them there. They were more or less right here on the ground, both sitting. Well, she was sitting, he was kind of laying down, back on the ground, facing up to the sky, more or less. Very beautiful park though. Look at this. That overlook from the very intro of the movie, it's way up there, way up the top of that hill. And in this very park there is a meditation chapel at the top of these stairs, which is where the lovemaking scene took place, where Steve-O was kind of freaking out a little bit. A lot of quick cuts, things like that. But you can tell by the pillars here. Just adjacent to where they were sitting in the park. So director probably said, hey, just go up here and utilize this. There was a bench over here that they were doing their business on. Oh, I wonder if this might actually be the bench, which would be kind of unusual if this is the same bench. You know what? It might be. It might not even have been moved. No, the area's been fixed up a lot since then, but that's the angle. And looking at this, it appears as if it's the same exact bench. Capitol building in view, right there. Look at that. Right there. Romantic. All right, still a few more spots, a couple more spots, maybe a few more spots. See what else I can find around the greater Salt Lake area. Filming and walking at the same time downstairs. I have to tread lightly. I don't want to lose my footing. This is such a beautiful area. Never been through this section of Salt Lake before. Okay, drove like maybe a mile or so, parked, and now walking up to the Church of the Madeline, which I've been here before when I was here 3 or 4 months ago. I did a trolley tour trolley tour parked over here. Of course, they did not mention this is where the climactic ending of SLC Punk took place, but it is. Don't want to give too many spoilers, but this is where it kind of all ended. They did use an interior, but also the exteriors along this wall, along these houses, near that other cathedral down at the end. I'll walk down there in a moment. I'm filming this a little bit out of sequence. I'm filming this in the order of my day, as opposed to the continuity of the film. So there will be a spot or two after this, but this is the closest to downtown, one of the last downtown spots I'm gonna hit up before venturing out of downtown to some other ones. Let's see if it's open, see if I can get inside, and see if I can match anything up as well. Now that I'm standing here, I'm realizing that where he gives her the hug was not up at the door level like I thought it was. He didn't walk across that way. He did, but at the lower level. In fact, it's kind of down here at the bottom portion of the steps. For some reason, I was thinking in my mind that this was up one level, but in fact, it's here. Matthew was standing right here. These little carvings behind him as he just simply says okay and walks away. And then you can kind of match this up. This is Lawrence Scanlon, and he could be seen in the movie, or at least that little sculpture of him, as she's standing right there watching Steve-O walk off. There's also a scene right here where Steve-O's standing out front, kind of looking at these doors as well. But it's very interesting. In order to get this angle, it kind of starts off way high up, looking at his head from up here, except maybe like 20 feet above me, and then it kind of zooms in on his face and then does this angle. Which means in order to get that, you know, because there's this little overhang, they would have had to have like a very tall like crane here, kind of going from about that angle here in order to look over this direction. And here's that photo of Lawrence Scanlon as well. We're standing in front of the Lawrence Scanlon, which is over here, that I mentioned a moment ago. Also where they would have had that crane up, kind of looking down. I also went inside. Doors were open, and I matched up a few things in there where they were all sitting in the pews, kind of matched up those angles as well, paying their respects inside the very, very beautiful cathedral. Very beautiful. But I just kind of matched up the ones that are in here. So they did film the interiors inside here as well, which is pretty awesome. There's the angle I'm referring to. And you can see by this point, he shaved off his mohawk. And from this very spot where she was left standing in shock of the events that had happened to her friend, Steve-O walks off this way. Listen, I have the DVD. It's never been released on Blu-ray as far as I know, but I have the DVD, and it has director and actor commentary. And it's very interesting because when they were filming the very ending scene, when he's sitting on a bench down here, the very, very far end, the bench is now gone. I guess there was people across the road kind of yelling and screaming and trying to get Matthew Lillard's attention. So he had to do that whole scene with the distraction of people across the road. Of course, it was all voiced over, so it didn't make a difference, but he had to act under all that while everyone was over there yelling, kind of here along the side of the road, according to his commentary on the DVD. And it's pretty simple to match up, even though the bench is gone. There's this kind of crack right here, this little indentation in the concrete, and it was just to the side of it, so the bench would have been just to the side, kind of about like that. It would have kind of been about where the bench was here. And it was kind of a long angle where it went past this little stairwell leading up to this house, so the camera was like going from the cathedral all along here, and then Steve-O's sitting there, and he of course delivers the last line of the movie, and it turns like this and then goes right in to his face, right about there. Yeah, give or take this general area. Yeah, and there's the rock wall, there's the other cathedral, there's that crack that I was referring to. See if I can kind of show the close-up of his face and where he was. I was nothing more, there was a fly on my ear. I was nothing more than a expletive, oh, it was a fly on my nose. Trendy ass poser. Gotta do the line. About 10 or 15 miles from where I just was, down this road, is an old mill, an old factory from way back in the day. Now closed off. Well, just sitting here, kind of rotting away. This stood in for the punk venue, where everyone was kind of slam dancing around, doing their thing in there. In fact, you could see when the officers show up at the end, drag everyone out, it was on the back side of this right here. I'll kind of match some stuff up and some of the windows there, but the concert was inside this desolate building. Pretty dang cool. Stood in for, you know, what was said to be a real venue back in the day in Salt Lake. But this was the fictional punk rock club. This old mill. All right, I walked over here. Obviously I can't get inside, but this is for certain the side of the brick where they crawled out the window, kind of to avoid getting caught. But it's interesting, you can match up some of this rock work here. I'll show that in a moment, but let me kind of show what I'm talking about. I'm looking at the screen grabs now. But they went out of, so basically the way it worked was the camera angle was back here. They crawled out of the window, very similar to the other windows that are over here. And then the camera, which was on a crane, turned the corner, and then you see everyone getting arrested down there. What I'm really noticing on these rocks are a couple up here that I'll kind of point out. So if you look closely, obviously the window shutters are gone, but there's like kind of a distinct full-size brick here. And then look over here at these. Right in the middle of the screen are two kind of small bricks on top of each other, and then the rectangular one to the side. Those are still there. That's how I know it's this side of the building. So the little brick underneath the other brick is kind of what I'm looking for. And then up here there's this almost like knife looking one, and that can be seen right here. So there's the big brick I was talking about, and if you look, there's the other two there, and then the cylinder one right up there that I called the knife looking one. And then on the lower level down here is where everybody else that was at the concert was getting hauled away. Yeah, they filmed the concert scenes right in there as the window they went out of on the other side. But it looked very similar. You could see it was similar to this window. That still has the original shutters on it and everything. And then down in here, you know, all the officers showed up. See if I could find the door that was the exit door they were all running out of. Got a little makeshift stairway here. Oh, the door's all sealed up. Yeah, obviously you can't get in here. At least you can see it from the exterior. Seems like this was the door that everyone rushed out of, and all the cars were here waiting for them, haul them off to jail. And the reason, kind of think that, even though it looks nothing like it did, because, you know, it's really hard to match up anything because these huge pylons in the front. But over here is the very unique structure of this building, which you can see off in the distance. So officers' cars here, but you can notice these over here in the corner are in a couple of the frames from the scene. You can kind of see them right there. Got a little smoke, a little dirt being tussled around, and there's the unique parts of the building next to the parking lot that I just showed. They would have run out of over here to the right. Okay, I think this is definitely it, because there's a little rock wall down here to the far extreme right corner, and there's another door up here that has a wooden banister around it. They would have busted out this main door, so I'll kind of line that angle up as well, even though there's all those pylons in the way now. But yeah, I think this is the spot. Kind of about from this angle here, and there was a big lamp at the top of that door, but you can really see in the scene when they all run out, you can see this little rock wall. So just pretend like those little concrete pylons aren't there, and then there's the other door right over there that has the wooden banister around it. Because it definitely wouldn't be down here. There's no way to get the cars down in here. So it wouldn't be down in there, it wouldn't be one of those doors. The only other doors would be those right over there. The cars in here. And they all run out of there. It'd be cool to get inside there, but obviously this thing is not structurally sound. there's the windows. Though. Kind of neat they had them up there on that top floor and then just kind of jumped out the window. All driven by the Ramones soundtrack during that same. Soundtrack's pretty good, but the Ramones, Cretin Hop was, let me put my sunglasses on. Cretin Hop was happening while they were all kind of rushing out of there. Great soundtrack, you know, I love punk rock, so I like the movie. Kind of walking back over to where that window was. Let me zoom in on this. So this is identical to the woodwork of the window that they did come out of, right up in there. Except they were out this window, which has been kind of steeled up, not boarded up, but boarded up with steel. And this is around the other side of the building, just showing what the wooden section of those windows used to look like. Pretty cool. The concert was right inside there. All right, commuted another 10 minutes or so over to my last spot, which kind of a very important spot. It was the mall. I believe this is part of the original mall building, the only part that's still left. As you can see over there, well, over that way just a little bit, new condos and apartments are being built under the epic mountain here in Salt Lake. Yeah, the mall is gone, erased from existence. I can't drive up in there. It says visitors must report the construction office. Really nothing to see. But this appears to be the only section of the original mall that's left, where he gave the whole long-winded spiel about punk rock. You know, the part where he just kind of goes on and on about anarchy in the UK and how does that apply to him and being a punk in Utah, all that stuff. And which band started, you know, punk rock, whether it's Sex Pistols or Ramones and all that. That whole spiel was done inside that mall. And now, condos, apartments being built. Here's the other section here. You can kind of see what's left. Not much. The escalators were in there, even though I don't think they were in this particular store. But that's going to do it for today. Kind of a quick, well, not quick, it took me a while to jaunt around. But a impromptu, if you want to call it. Not super detailed, but detailed enough. Show some of the spots from SLC Punk. Almost 20, next year will be 25 years. Came out in '98. I think my favorite line is Christopher McDonald, who also played Shooter McGavin in Happy Gilmore. He was also in Requiem for a Dream. He played the father. Remember, I didn't sell out, I bought in. I think that was the line. Steven, remember, I didn't sell out, I bought in. Keep that in mind. I always thought that was funny. I always liked Christopher McDonald as well. Can't forget he was in that movie as well. Good cast, good script, good locations, and possibly one of the few movies about punk rock in Salt Lake City. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. The vlog. Wish I could have got in the mall. Well, what's left in the mall? The vlog is over.